Have you ever felt exhausted, looking at your messy house and thinking, if only I had someone to help me? Raise your hand if you haven't ended up crying silently while picking up toys, scrubbing impossible stains, and cleaning up everyone's mess, except your own. The truth is, many of us were sold the lie that in order to have an impeccable home, you need to pay for help, dedicate endless hours, and give up your own peace of mind. But in Japan, where space is limited and organization is almost a sacred art, there are household tricks so simple yet effective that very few people here know about. Today I want to reveal 10 Japanese tricks that housewives there use to keep everything in order, quickly and without breaking their backs. They're not the typical vinegar and baking soda hacks or rolling clothes into little bundles. They're curious methods, unbelievable to some, but once you try them, they work. The first one, place a dried orange peel inside your drawers and closets. When I first heard that in Japan they put dried orange peels inside drawers and closets, I thought it was one of those strange customs that only made sense over there. But the truth is, there's a surprisingly practical logic behind this trick. In many Japanese homes, spaces are small and enclosed, which encourages humidity and stale odors. Plus, it's very common to have natural wood furniture, which is more prone to being attacked by moths and other tiny insects that sneak between clothes or hide in the corners of closets. The orange peel, when it dries, continues to release essential oils that turn out to be a natural repellent for moths and certain types of mites. The citrus aroma it gives off is fresh and pleasant for us, but unbearable for insects. Not only does it keep them away, but it also masks any musty odor that can build up among stored clothes, especially during season changes when you put away winter or summer clothes for months. But there's an extra benefit that few people mention. The dried orange peel acts as a moisture absorber. In humid climates or houses with poor ventilation, very common in Japanese urban areas, this little trick helps keep drawers drier, preventing the formation of mold or that unpleasant old clothes smell. And the best part is you don't have to buy anything. You just need to peel an orange, let the peels dry in the sun or by a window for a few days, and then place a couple of pieces inside small fabric bags or directly on a small piece of paper inside drawers or closets. Some Japanese housewives even mix orange peels with lemon or grapefruit peels to enhance the effect and vary the scent. Every 2 or 3 weeks, just replace them with new ones. The old ones can be crushed and used to clean drains or mixed with hot water to freshen up rooms before throwing them out. It's a simple, free, and natural resource that keeps moths away, protects your clothes, and subtly perfumes closed spaces. I tried it myself in a drawer where I used to store bed sheets, and in less than a week, that stale smell was gone. Since then, I also use it in the kitchen cabinets where I keep cloths and table linens. It really works, and now I understand why in Japan it's such a deeply rooted tradition in both traditional and modern homes alike. Before we continue, as always, I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and support the video with a like. As a gift, in the video description and in the pinned comment, I'll leave you a free daily home organization planner for an impeccable home. I hope you make good use of it. Second, stick a small magnet behind your toilet brush and dustpan. This trick seemed so absurd to me the first time I heard it that I had to look up pictures and ask a Japanese acquaintance to confirm that they actually do this. And yes, it's real. In Japan, where they are extremely meticulous about bathroom cleanliness and avoiding moisture buildup in any corner, many housewives place a small magnet on the back of the toilet brush and also on hand dustpans. Why? So they can stick them to metal surfaces on the wall or even to the sides of the toilet tank, preventing them from sitting directly on the floor. Why is this so important to them? Because they understand that in bathrooms, moisture and bacteria accumulate invisibly, especially on the tools we use for cleaning. When you leave a toilet brush on the floor or inside those closed plastic holders, the residual water gets trapped at the base, creating the perfect environment for bacteria, fungi, and mold to multiply in a matter of hours. Over time, that stagnant water also starts to give off a sour odor, one you might not immediately notice, but it lingers, soaking into the surroundings. By sticking a small neodymium magnet or an ordinary kitchen magnet behind the toilet brush or dustpan, you can hang them directly on a metal rod or on an adhesive metal plate you can install yourself in a bathroom corner or behind the door. This keeps the tools suspended, allowing water to drain completely and dry in the air. No puddles, no dirty bases, and no risk of them accidentally touching towels, bags, or other bathroom items. It's such a simple, cheap trick that I don't understand why it's not more common in the West. In Japan, they even sell toilet brushes with a small magnet built into the top or base of the handle precisely for this purpose. Some people also attach a metal washer or a magnetic plate to the side of a hand dustpan, so they can hang it next to the broom without the dustpan touching the floor of the bathroom or kitchen. Another interesting detail is that by being hung up, these tools dry much faster, drastically reducing the chance for bacteria and bad odors to accumulate. Plus, since there's no floor contact, it's much easier to clean underneath and prevent dirt or water buildup in corners. I tried it a few months ago and the difference was immediate. The bathroom feels fresher, there are no traces of moisture where the brush used to sit, and it's incredible how easy it is to clean underneath. If you have children at home or curious pets that tend to snoop around the bathroom, this trick also prevents them from accidentally touching those objects we prefer to keep far from contact. A Japanese idea so ridiculously simple, yet effective. Third, sprinkle water with salt in the corners of the house once a week. This trick is one of the oldest and least known outside Japan, but it's still practiced in many traditional and modern homes. It's as simple as sprinkling or spraying salted water into the corners of your house once a week. At first glance, it seems like a superstitious ritual, and in fact, it does have spiritual roots within Shintoism and Japanese purification practices. But behind that symbolic aspect, there's a practical explanation few people know, and it makes perfect sense. In Japanese homes, especially old ones, corners are seen as small dead spaces. Places where air doesn't circulate well, where humidity stagnates, and where, according to their beliefs, bad energy also builds up. When this happens, unpleasant odors, sticky dust, and even small mold spots begin to form in those forgotten corners. The combination of water and salt serves a double function. Salt is hygroscopic, which means it attracts and retains moisture from the environment, and it also works as a natural deodorizer. What many Japanese housewives do is dissolve a generous amount of coarse salt in a small container of hot water, and with that mixture, they clean or sprinkle the corners of rooms, behind doors, under furniture, and in any closed corner that tends to get dirty or produce odor. It's not about soaking the floor, just lightly dampening the area. In some cases, they even leave small plates with dry salt in the most humid corners, like behind the washing machine or at the back of closets, to absorb moisture for several days. The interesting detail is that it's not just about mold and odors. In Japanese culture, it's believed that certain spaces can become charged with heavy energy, and this act of cleaning with salted water helps purify the home. It doesn't matter if you believe in those things or not, the truth is, it works. In places with children, pets, or poorly ventilated areas, corners tend to become sources of moisture and bad smells without you even noticing, and this simple mixture eliminates those problems at the root. Another curious fact, in some regions of Japan, this method is also used after heated arguments at home or when someone falls ill, as a way to renew the atmosphere. Additionally, it's known that salt can act as a natural repellent for certain tiny insects that thrive in damp corners. The best part is that you don't need chemicals or to spend any money. With a bit of coarse salt and warm water, you can create a natural solution that disinfects, deodorizes, and keeps moisture under control in the most forgotten corners of your house. Ever since I tried it in the kitchen and bathroom corners, that faint musty smell disappeared, and those small dark moisture stains never came back. It's one of those home tricks you won't find in decor magazines, but in real life, it makes a difference. Fourth, keep a piece of activated charcoal in the fridge. I discovered this trick thanks to a Japanese lady I met in an Asian products store. I was curious to see they sold small activated charcoal pouches for refrigerators, something almost no one uses here. When I asked her what they were for, she explained that in Japan it's normal to place a piece of activated charcoal inside the fridge to keep it free of bad odors. And interestingly, beyond popular belief, there's a very logical reason behind it. Activated charcoal is a porous material with an enormous internal surface area capable of trapping odor particles, gases, and moisture within its microscopic structure. What's amazing is that it doesn't mask odors. Like many commercial deodorizers do, it absorbs and neutralizes them naturally, without releasing any type of chemical into the air or onto the food in your fridge. In Japan, where meals often include ingredients with strong aromas like fish, kimchi, miso, or fermented sauces, keeping the fridge odor-free is vital, because those smells can easily cling to other foods, especially desserts, fruits, and fresh vegetables. That's why many Japanese housewives place a small piece of activated charcoal, about the size of a bar of soap, inside the fridge, usually in a corner or hung in a small cloth bag. This charcoal remains effective for weeks, even months, and you just need to leave it out in the sun for a few hours every so often to release the trapped moisture and odors, and it'll be ready to use again. Some people reuse it this way for up to 6 months before replacing it. The best thing about this method is that it's completely safe for food. There's no risk of it contaminating your meals, it leaves no flavor or smell, and it takes up no space. You can even use natural charcoal pieces if you have access to them, like the kind used for grilling, as long as they don't have chemical additives or ash residue. Just wash it well, let it dry, and place it inside your fridge. I started doing this myself months ago, and I noticed those mixed odors that used to appear when there was cheese, onion, and fruit together disappeared. The air inside the fridge stays fresh and neutral, and it also helps some foods last a little longer because by absorbing moisture, it prevents those sticky liquids from forming in the vegetable drawers. It's such a simple, natural, and inexpensive trick that I don't understand why most of us keep buying those commercial deodorizers with artificial fragrances. Since I started using it, I've realized that many things we take for granted at home have much more effective and natural solutions. And the Japanese have been applying them for centuries without needing gadgets. Fifth, use used tea bags to clean mirrors and glass. This Japanese trick is one of those that sound like something your grandmother would tell you, but when you try it, you realize it works even better than many commercial products. In Japan, where tea, especially green and black tea, is part of everyday life, it's very common to reuse used tea bags for cleaning tasks, and one of the most surprising is using them to clean mirrors and glass. At first glance, it seems pointless, but it actually has a rather interesting chemical explanation. Tea contains tannins, plant compounds with natural astringent and degreasing properties. These tannins can dissolve grease and light dirt that builds up on mirrors and glass, especially those fingerprints, water splashes, and dust that even conventional glass cleaners sometimes don't fully remove. What many Japanese housewives do, and they still do it today, not only in traditional houses but also in modern apartments, is save the used tea bags after making tea and, once cooled, use them to gently wipe over mirrors and glass surfaces. It's not about soaking the glass or leaving it dripping wet. You simply pass the damp tea bag over the surface, especially over areas with greasy marks or fingerprints. After that, you dry it with a clean cloth, preferably cotton or microfiber, and that's it. What's most curious is that, unlike some commercial glass cleaners that leave streaks or residue, tea leaves no greasy traces and doesn't fog up the glass. On the contrary, it gives it a clear, natural shine. And since it contains no chemicals, it's ideal for cleaning bathroom mirrors, where steam and cosmetic product residues tend to dirty the glass faster than usual. Another detail many people don't know is that the tannin in tea has a slight antibacterial effect, which helps naturally disinfect surfaces without needing alcohol or ammonia. And if you use green tea, besides tannins, it also contains catechins, which provide a purifying and deodorizing effect. Some people in Japan even mix the used tea bags with a little warm water in a container and use that liquid as a cleaning solution for large windows. Others prefer to dry the tea bags in the sun and then use them to clean dry glass, especially in areas where fine dust builds up, since the dry tea leaves trap dust without scratching the surface. I tried it on my bathroom mirrors, which I always struggled to leave streak-free, and it was amazing how it removed those white watermarks and fingerprints in seconds. I didn't even need to use a glass cleaner. Since then, every time I make tea, I save the bags in a jar so they're ready to use. And it's not just for glass. In Japan, they also use them to clean TV screens, wall clock covers, eyeglass lenses, and even picture frame glass. The key is not to use them too wet or leave loose tea leaves behind, but applied properly, it's a natural, homemade, cost-free, and completely eco-friendly solution. This once again shows how, in Japan, they value making the most out of what others throw away. Where here we toss used tea bags in the trash without a second thought, over there they find a second, effective, and practical use for them. It's a small detail, but it reflects that Japanese philosophy of respect for resources and keeping everything balanced, even in something as simple as keeping a mirror clean. Sixth, clean wooden furniture with rice water. This trick is a true hidden gem of Japanese households, and when you discover it, you wonder how it isn't more popular in the rest of the world. In Japan, The water left after washing rice, known as toiu or komanuka, is used for many things in daily life, from fertilizing plants and cleaning utensils to beauty treatments. But one of its most interesting and effective uses is for cleaning and revitalizing wooden furniture. Why rice water? Because it's slightly starchy, and that starch acts as a natural protective layer over the surface of the wood. When applied correctly, it leaves a very fine film that protects the wood from dust, prevents it from drying out, and restores a subtle shine without leaving it greasy or dull like some commercial oils. It also has gentle cleaning properties that remove light stains and marks without damaging or lifting the original varnish layer. In traditional Japanese homes, where much of the furniture and decorative elements are made of untreated or minimally treated noble woods, this method has been used for generations. Housewives collect the first or second wash of the rice when the water is still a bit cloudy but clean and use it warm to clean tables, desks, shelves, door frames, and any wooden surface. What they do is soak a soft cloth in this starchy water, wring it out well, and then wipe it over the wood surface following the direction of the grain. There's no need to scrub hard. Then, you let it air dry and, if desired, finish with a dry cloth to gently buff it. The difference is noticeable within minutes. The color of the wood brightens, looks more even, and that beautiful natural matte shine typical of Japanese furniture reappears. But it doesn't end there. Another interesting detail is that rice water acts as a natural dust repellent. The starch creates an invisible layer that makes it harder for dust particles to stick to the surface, so the furniture stays clean longer. Some people in Japan even boil this leftover rice water, let it cool, and use it as a natural multi-purpose cleaner for wooden furniture, bamboo utensils, and wooden floors. Since it contains no chemicals, it doesn't damage or dry out surfaces, and because it has no alcohol or harsh detergents, it helps better preserve antique furniture or delicate wood pieces. And not only that, some people add a few drops of rice vinegar or a couple of used tea leaves to the rice water to enhance its disinfecting and deodorizing effect, especially for kitchen furniture or dining tables that are more exposed to grease or food residue. I tried it on an old wooden dresser that always looked dull and seemed impossible to make nice again without varnishing it. I applied the warm rice water with a cloth, and once it dried, the change was instant. The color came back to life, the surface marks disappeared, and it was left with a soft, clean sheen, not greasy at all. Since then, I've done it once a month, and the difference compared to when I only wiped it with a dry cloth is huge. This trick is not only effective and natural, but also makes use of something we normally pour down the sink without a second thought. Another example of how, in Japan, nothing is wasted and value is found even in everyday leftovers. In the end, your home benefits from it, and your wooden furniture regains that natural warmth no chemical product can imitate. 7th, place crumpled aluminum foil inside old pots and pans. This is one of those Japanese household secrets that sounds so strange when you first hear it. You might think it's a myth, but it works. In Japan, where housewives greatly value the longevity of kitchen utensils and prefer to repair, reuse, and maintain them in good condition rather than replace them, there's a very particular technique for cleaning old pots and pans that have lost their shine or have those impossible dark stains, using crumpled aluminum foil inside them while boiling water. The principle behind this trick lies in the combination of three things: the heat of the boiling water, the slight abrasiveness of the aluminum foil, and the reaction between the minerals in the water and the aluminum. When you crumple a piece of aluminum foil, you create a rough, yet non-aggressive surface, ideal for dislodging stains stuck to the bottom of stainless steel or aluminum pots without scratching them. What they do in Japan is very simple. Fill the pot or pan with enough water to cover the stained areas, add a ball of crumpled aluminum foil inside, and bring it to a boil for 10 to 15 minutes. During that time, the heat helps loosen the layers of burnt grease and dark stains, while the constant movement of the aluminum ball against the bottom and sides gently lifts off the embedded grime. But there's more. The aluminum, in contact with the hot water and the mineral residues left in the pots, produces a mild reaction that further helps loosen the most stubborn stains. When the water cools down a bit, many housewives in Japan take advantage of that moment to use the same aluminum bowl as a gentle scrubber, rubbing the most stained areas. The crumpled foil's rough texture is strong enough to remove tough grime but much gentler than a metal scouring pad, so it doesn't scratch or damage the pot's finish. Additionally, this method is especially useful for stainless steel pots and pans that, over time, lose their original shine and get those yellowish or clay-colored stains. A boiling session with water and crumpled aluminum foil can restore much of that lost shine. Another variation some Japanese housewives use is adding a few drops of rice vinegar or a pinch of baking soda to the water, which further enhances the cleaning effect and helps eliminate accumulated odors in old pots. And it's not just for pots. In Japan, they also apply this trick to stainless steel kettles, metal trays, and kitchen utensils that, through frequent use, accumulate difficult stains. The combination of heat, water, and crumpled aluminum works as a deep clean without the need for abrasive chemicals or commercial cleaning pastes. What surprised me when I tried it at home was how a pot I had practically written off because of those dark stains on the bottom that no detergent could remove regained much of its original look in minutes. And without effort. Just with a ball of aluminum foil that you can even reuse several times until it falls apart. It's another example of the Japanese philosophy of making the most of what you have and finding practical, economical, and effective solutions using what others would consider household trash. A technique that sounds like something passed down between grandmothers but works better than you'd expect. And it makes you realize how many other things we throw away that could have a second, equally clever use. 8th, keep a small bowl of uncooked rice inside cupboards or near shoes. This trick is another one of those Japanese household secrets passed down from generation to generation, and though it sounds incredibly simple, it works better than many commercial dehumidifiers. In Japan, where houses tend to be small, poorly ventilated, and highly prone to humidity, especially during the rainy season known as tsuyu managing closed, damp spaces becomes a daily priority. And for that, a simple bowl of uncooked rice has been used for centuries as a natural dehumidifier and deodorizer. What's interesting about this trick is that rice, by nature, has a huge capacity to absorb moisture from the air. Its grains act like tiny sponges that capture humidity suspended in the air, preventing it from condensing on surfaces and generating that unpleasant musty smell so typical of wardrobes, closets, pantries, or corners where shoes are stored. In Japan, many housewives place small bowls, cups, or fabric pouches filled with uncooked rice inside clothing wardrobes, in linen drawers, or in pantry corners where dry food is stored. It's also very common to place one at the home entrance, near where shoes are kept, especially because damp shoes after walking in the rain are a constant source of bad odor. The process is as simple as it is effective. You just have to place a handful of uncooked rice in an open container. It can be a cup, a small plate, or a tightly tied fabric pouch, and leave it in the spot where you want to control moisture. When the rice begins to change color, turning yellowish or appearing more opaque and brittle, it means it has absorbed a good amount of ambient moisture and it's time to replace it. One of the great advantages of this method is that it contains no chemicals, generates no toxic waste, and emits no artificial fragrances, making it a safe option even if you have small children, pets, or delicate clothing stored in those spaces. Another interesting curiosity is that this moisture-absorbing rice isn't thrown directly into the trash. In Japan, many housewives reuse it by placing it in small fabric bags or paper wraps and use it as a deodorizer for trash bins, or toss it inside shoes overnight before finally discarding it. Some even burn it along with dried aromatic herbs, as after having absorbed moisture and odors, it releases a peculiar aroma when burned. The trick becomes especially useful in humid climates or in homes without good ventilation, such as apartments or old houses. It's also perfect for preserving books, photographs, documents, and other paper objects in good condition, as it prevents them from warping or getting stained due to excess humidity. I tried it by placing it inside a closet where I usually store towels and bedding, which in winter often had a musty smell that was hard to get rid of. Just a couple of days were enough to notice the difference. The air inside the cabinet became drier, fresher, and free from that faint but unpleasant stuffy odor. Since then, I've had bowls of rice in various corners of my house and replace them monthly. This trick, like many others applied in Japanese households, is proof that the most effective solutions don't always come in colorful bottles or with flashy labels. Sometimes they're right there in your pantry, waiting to be used in ways you never imagined. 9th, wrap knives and scissors in newspaper at night. This trick is one of those details that, in Japan, have been passed down from generation to generation, and although it may seem simple or even odd, it has a deep and very practical explanation. In many Japanese homes, due to the ambient humidity and the frequent use of cutting tools, keeping knives and scissors in perfect condition is essential not just for cooking well, but also to avoid accidents and extend the useful life of these tools. What they do is wrap knives and scissors in newspaper at the end of the day, before putting them away. This habit may seem old-fashioned or even inconvenient, but the newspaper serves several important functions far beyond simply covering the blades. First, newspaper is a material that absorbs the residual moisture left on blades after washing or using knives and scissors. In Japan, where humidity can be high especially during certain seasons of the year, this moisture trapped on the blades can quickly cause rust, which not only spoils the edge but can also damage the metal structure. By wrapping them in newspaper, the moisture is effectively drawn out, preventing it from remaining in contact with the metal. In addition, newspaper has a texture that protects the blades from direct contact with the air and other surfaces that could scratch or nick them, helping maintain a sharp edge for longer. Instead of knives knocking against or rubbing one another in the drawer or toolbox, they're covered by this thin but resilient barrier. But there's more that few people know. Newspaper contains printing ink that, although it may sound odd, has slightly antioxidant properties thanks to the pigments and the type of ink traditionally used in printing. This helps neutralize certain corrosive agents in the air that accelerate oxidation. Another practical advantage is that this method makes handling knives safer. When they're wrapped, it prevents someone from cutting themselves accidentally when taking out or putting away the tools, especially useful in homes with children or where people aren't used to handling knives frequently. In Japan, this technique is complemented by the practice of carefully cleaning and drying knives after use, using a soft cloth to remove any water or food residue before wrapping them. It's also common to store them in a dry, ventilated place, maximizing the effectiveness of the newspaper. Some older Japanese folks even recommend using regular newspaper because it's more absorbent and breathable than other types of paper or plastic materials, which sometimes trap moisture instead of letting it escape. I tried this trick during a damp winter at home, when I noticed my knives were rusting quickly and losing their edge despite my frequent cleanings. I wrapped the blades in newspaper at night, and the result was clear. Not only did the edge stay sharp longer, but the rust almost completely disappeared, and the added safety gave me peace of mind. This is yet another example of how in Japan they value natural, economical methods that don't require special products or chemicals, but simply the smart use of what they have on hand. And if you think about it, it's very logical. Caring for your kitchen tools with a simple piece of paper that helps absorb moisture and protect them can save you time and money in the long run. A humble trick, yes, but incredibly effective. And 10th, use old wool lint to clean hard-to-reach corners. This last trick is one of those that, at first glance, seems so simple you almost wonder why you haven't been doing it all along. In Japan, where cleaning isn't just a chore but practically a daily form of meditation, they make use of even the smallest, seemingly useless scraps to keep every corner of the home spotless. And one of those domestic marvels is the use of lint made from old bits of wool. Yes, I'm sure you have at home some old sweater, scarf, or wool garment you no longer use because it got covered in lint balls or lost its shape. Instead of throwing it away or letting it gather dust, the Japanese recycle it in a super smart way. They shred those wool scraps, turning them into compact lint balls that they use as cleaning tools for hard-to-reach corners. Why wool? Wool has a natural structure that acts like a magnet for dust and dirt. The fibers trap particles without releasing them easily, and best of all, these wool lint balls don't shed fibers while you clean, unlike some synthetic cloths or old rags that just move the dust around or leave behind little threads you later have to pick up. These wool lint balls are perfect for cleaning blinds, baseboards, window frames, corners between furniture and walls, and any place where dust collects but is tricky to reach with a regular cloth or feather duster. Plus, since wool is soft, it doesn't scratch or damage delicate surfaces, something especially important when cleaning lacquered furniture or delicate paintwork. In many Japanese homes, these wool lint balls are kept dry and clean in small containers or fabric bags, ready to use every time they do a deep weekly or monthly clean. The technique is very simple. You gently pass the lint ball over the dusty areas, effortlessly trapping dust and dirt, then shake it out outdoors or hand wash it to reuse it many times. Also, these lint balls have the advantage of being very eco-friendly and economical. They create no waste since they're made from old garments no one would wear anymore, and since they require no chemicals or sprays, they're perfect for those who want to keep the house clean and healthy while avoiding toxic products. Some Japanese people even mix the lint balls with a bit of baking soda or natural essences like cedarwood or lavender oil to boost their dust-trapping capacity and gently scent the air while cleaning. I tried this method on the blinds in my living room, which always accumulated dust that was hard to remove without taking them apart or using chemical products. The wool lint bowl was incredible. It trapped the dust without leaving any residue, no scratches, and no need for detergents. Plus, I didn't have to clean the floor afterward to pick up stray fibers like I usually do with other cloths. This trick is a perfect example of how the Japanese find value and utility in what seems like waste, and how, with ingenuity and respect for resources, they manage to keep the house clean without spending more or making extra mess. A simple but powerful little detail, you can easily adopt recycling old clothes and taking care of every corner of your home gently and effectively. So next time you feel like you can't take it anymore, remember it's not about having help or living your life cleaning. It's about knowing small secrets that make life easier. These tricks have been used by generations of Japanese women without overspending or feeling overwhelmed. If you liked this video, let me know in the comments which of these tricks you're going to try first, and if you'd like a second part with more of these little-known methods. Because I promise there are plenty more where these came from.